Welcome to the first episode of Everything Under the Sun. This is your host Pooja, and today I'm going to talk about relationships and what it means to be truly present in one. I was browsing videos on YouTube and came across an old interview of the Buddhist monk and author Thich Nhat Hann, which was taken by Oprah. A couple of points hit home for me, and I thought I should share with all of you. First one was deep, compassionate listening. We might have heard this question: are you hearing or listening to someone? There is a lot of difference between these two actions. I was under impression that I knew what listening meant, as I have been trying to practice conscious listening. But after watching this video, I realized that my understanding and practice was only on an intellectual level. So, what does deep, compassionate listening really mean? I believe it means listening through all your senses, not just ingesting the words through the ears, but to feel the energy being portrayed, watch the body language, understand, and look beyond the wheel being held. Sometimes what people say and what they mean are totally opposites. I'm sure you all must have experienced this sometime. Most of them hide their true feelings and only show you the tip of an iceberg. Now, how do we practice this deep, compassionate listening? My interpretation is by being in the present totally, not in the past, not in the future, not silently judging the words being heard, no, but conjuring up advice to share. Just mindfully and sincerely be still and act as a vessel catching whatever is being shared. How many of us drift in and out of a conversation when somebody is sharing their deep personal feelings with you? So let's try it out. You don't have to advise the person right away. Let the person feel comfortable, share whatever he or she wants to pour out. When you show that you're a good listener, when and not just show, actually make them feel that you are completely involved and listening. They will trust you enough to start opening their hearts. You'll have plenty of chances to advise later. You don't have to be ready for them to take a pause and for you to just jump and start sharing your advice. A word of caution here, I really have to mention this. Ensure you don't get too involved in the suffering being shared, so involved that you get depressed and drained of the energy. After the conversation, you are left feeling depressed. There's a fine balance, being totally present but not involved. Being like a lotus flower in the pond. The lotus grows in the pond, in the mud, but water droplets cannot stick to it. If you've seen a lotus flower, you just shake it and the water droplets fall away. It sounds magical, doesn't it? And almost impossible and mystical, at it and at times. But this has really piqued my interest. How nice it would be to attain that stage, to be able to listen deeply but not get involved. Have you ever felt this or attained this stage? Please share, I would love to hear your stories and experiences. Thich Nhat Hann further shares 4 mantras for personal relationships, and I found those absolutely wonderful because they're so simple to use. He calls them mantras, but they're plain, simple words that can be translated in any language and in any way that you want. So let me start sharing those. So the first one he says is, "Darling, I'm here for you." The best gift you can give your beloved is your presence. And it's so true, isn't it? Your total presence, not being preoccupied with the past or the future or your cell phone. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. All of us are guilty of this, right? Now, isn't that simple and wonderful? To tell someone you are there for them. And this is not limited to a husband wife relationship or a romantic relationship. This can mean parents, siblings, friends, kids, and even pets. I remember when my dog, needed some attention from me, and I was busy working, and he would just come and put his face on my thighs or poke me with his nose to kind of get that attention from me. It was really cute. I miss him. I miss him a lot. Anyways, let's go to the second point. The second mantra that he gave us: Darling, I know you are there. I am so happy that you are truly here and present. What he mentions next is the crux of this entire mantra, and that really hit me. He says, to be loved means to be recognized as existing. Let me repeat that once. To be loved means to be recognized as existing. Most of us take our loved ones for granted. After a while, they are blurring backgrounds of our lives, especially mothers and wives. This happens with them so often. They are constantly working for the house and for the family. And we realize that they are important. We love them, we respect them in principle, but hardly ever acknowledge their presence or hardly ever show it in actions. Just saying I love you means nothing if actions don't follow suit. Hug your loved one today and be present for them. Just watch the magic unfold. The third point he mentions is the third mantra: when your beloved is suffering, just tell them, Darling, I know you are suffering, and that is why I am there for you. Acknowledging that the person is suffering and that you're there for them, that is going to help already relieve some of their suffering. We may not be able to solve their issues, we may not be able to take away their pain totally, and they know that as well. But just saying that you are there, you understand their suffering, makes a huge difference. The last one that he shares, and that's the most difficult and challenging one, is when you are hurt by that loved one and you are upset and angry with them, you want to punish them for hurting you. You go back to them, and then just punish them. All of us have experienced this, and we just don't want to face that person. We want to just storm into our room, slam the door shut, or just go out for a walk, and just don't want to be at that time in front of them, which is understandable. What he asks you to do is come back and tell them, Darling, I am suffering. I am hurt. Please help me. Having the honest conversation that he or she hurt you and involving them in finding a solution. It sounds wonderful, but I'm sure when anger and hurt are mixed and there's a splash of ego, it is going to be tremendously difficult. And it might seem impossible. But how would we know if we don't try? Maybe once we calm down, we set aside the ego and we give this a try. If not for anything but testing this out. When it comes to love, compassion, forgiveness, gratefulness, etc., these words have been used way too many times, and no one knows the day-to-day translation of these emotions and values. How do you translate these huge names that are being thrown around in your day-to-day life? These four mantras I find to be very simple and straightforward, in that simplicity is the key to allow subtle changes to transform us. Remember to say these out aloud. Be sincere while saying them and follow through with action. Otherwise, this amounts to nothing. With the world currently in lockdown and the next few weeks and months forcing families to stay under one roof day in and day out, I hope this will help reduce stress, diffuse the tension, bring a smile, some laughter, and better yet, completely revitalize atmospheres within our homes. Let us emerge as better human beings after this crisis tides over us. As humanity, we are being led towards some transformation, and the internal transformation is of utmost importance. I am sure as we move into the age of Aquarius, there will be more powerful changes within us as a whole. Thank you for listening. If you like this, please subscribe and please listen in next week when I talk about a unique question that popped up into my head. What would I say to a 19-year-old me if I got a chance to meet her? Quirky and interesting, isn't it? Until next time, stay safe, stay positive, and practice these mantras. Take care. Lots of love. Signing off, your host Pooja.